Hello, everyone. Good evening. Just waiting for others to join. Guys, we request you all to join on time so that we can start the class on time. Still, there are 7 more people to join.
Hello?
Yeah, Arvind, just give us some time. So we have bandwidth issues, internet bandwidth issues from the trainer's end. Give us a few minutes.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
He is having internet bandwidth issues at his end. Yeah. I'm also waiting for 5 more people to join. So yeah.
Okay, okay.
Hello, everyone. We are experiencing some internet issues at the trainer's end. So he's resolved the issue now. So give us like 2 more minutes. I'm extremely sorry for the inconvenience, guys. So 4 more people to join. Give us like 2 minutes. He'll be joining the session.
Hey, hi guys, very good evening everyone. Sorry guys, stuck in some office call, got late. Yeah.
Also check your internet connection, Shravan. I already informed the students that still you have having these bandwidth issues. So yeah, please you can start it off. Like 2 more students I had to join. 2 more students. You can start it off. It's already like 7 minutes late today.
Yeah. Yeah. So without wasting any delay, let's start today, guys. Yeah. So today we will start the course, guys. So today we're gonna start the topic called Linux. So we're gonna spend a good amount of time in discussing the Linux. All right. So guys, anyone has any kind of idea what you mean by Linux? Anyone? Anytime you came across this Linux?
It's like one of operating systems, sir.
Yeah, operating system.
Linux itself is a kernel basically.
Okay, kernel.
Then
Then
it's combined with the GUI, then it totally work as a operating system.
whoever is saying your voice is breaking. So what is kernel? After kernel, you are saying something?
I'm saying that our Linux plus CLI basically makes a operating system or GUI because Linux itself is a kernel. Am I right?
Yeah. Kernel is a part of an operating system, and Linux is typically a CLI based command line interface, right? Then what else? What else you can get some outcome?
Commonly used.
Sorry?
Go ahead. Commonly used for educational purpose.
Commonly used for?
Educational purpose.
Okay. Yeah, that is a use case. That is also true.
So Linux is basically a open source operating system, and
Yeah.
it has a lot of distributions, and we can use it for different purposes.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true statement. Right? Anything else, guys?
Oh, it's an operating system. It's like it allows us to interact with the underlying hardware. Like it's a user interface that allows us to use the underlying hardware.
Yeah. 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 Anything else? Yeah, that is also one of the statement. Yeah. Anything else, guys, apart from these kind of things? Any statements you want to make? Okay. So let me keep some background and why we are going for Linux. So guys, so Linux is a typical operating system. It is a multitasking operating system and it is an open source. It would be having a component of kernel and it is typically CLI. Even we have graphical interface, but the majority of the activities in Linux will be done with the help of command line interface. It is a typical CLI based operating system. It is a typical CLI based operating system, right? So managing the things, right? So by having some commands, we will be using some operating system called Linux, right? So Linux is an open source operating system, guys. And the reason why we are going for Linux is majority of our DevOps projects are getting deployed in a Linux operating system. That is the reason we are going with the Linux operating system, guys, right? So this is virus-free operating system. The major advantages to have a Linux is it is a virus-free operating system. At any point of time, your operating system will not have any kind of virus. Any kind of virus will be coming to your operating system, which is a Linux operating system, right? So your operating system will be free from virus. It will be free from the virus. So this is the important aspect you have to consider in mind. This is the important aspect you have to consider in mind, right? And the second aspect is a multitasking, right? So if I want to do some multiple tasks at a time with a regular operating system like Windows or some other operating system, it is not possible. But whereas Linux, it have a possibility that we can get the things into the plate, right? So I can do multiple things. I can do the installation. I can start the service at a time. Multiple things, multiple activities can be done with the help of Linux operating system, right? This is the second major advantage. And the final one is it is an open source. It is an open source operating system, right? So these are the major components which we take it to have this kind of consideration, right? So this is the background about Linux operating system, guys. And so here in the Linux classes, what we will do is we will discuss what is required for a DevOps engineer. Going forward, we will do n number of real-time projects. So wherever we do some kind of deployments, right, we need kind of an help of Linux, right? So whatever it is required, we will be learning all those concepts. And we do discussion of concepts, then practicals, then one real-time scenario we will configure in Linux, right? So this would be the typical, we will spend good time here in understanding the things which is required for a DevOps engineer, right? So let's go and discuss the concepts now, right? So the typical concepts, what all we did, yeah.
And I do have one doubt regarding multitasking. So can you please elaborate how it's multitasking? Because in Windows, we can also do multitasking tasks as well. So how it's different from the Windows?
So let me brief you. So let's take two things. If you want to do installation of two packages, you download two packages and you do the download. Yes, that can be done. The real multitasking is in the background. Whenever you do it, it has to speed up the things. So if you do in the Windows, in the background, there is a process consumption. If you take an A software, it would be doing the process of installing. B also, you will be able to see the installation, but there would be some glitch in the backend. It will be taking some kind of dependency layer in the Windows, right? Whereas in the Linux, if you want to do any kind of task at any point of time, anytime, multiple times, you can do on the go. If you're doing A task, B task, C task, on the single manner, it will be done. But whereas in a Windows, there would be some glitch and there would be some kind of dependency layer, right? So this is the reason why we call it as Windows and Linux as a multitasking operating system. Clear, Taran?
Yes,
Clear,
got it. Thank you.
yeah. Some glitch would be there in Windows. That, see, for our naked we will see I am installing two applications, then it is happening, but that is not the true backend. In the backend, this would be the reality would be there, right? So this you have to keep in mind, right?
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's go and discuss the concepts, what all things we will discuss. So let's go and do it. So the first concept, we will start with the architecture of Linux. And the second topic would be the commands. And one more point, guys, and Linux, the major portion would be done on command line. Even in the reality, you will see the effect of command line interface only. You will see the effect of command line interface only, right? So that would be there. But whereas if you are doing some practice and if you want to create some Linux operating system, yes, we have a provision of graphical based, but to manage any kind of things or tasks, yes, it has to be a typical CLI only. Even in the Linux, even if you work on some real-time projects, it would be typical black screen mode. A CLI based console would be there. A CLI based console would be there, right? So these are the two things you have to keep it in mind, right? So the first thing we will discuss about architecture of Linux. Then commands used in Linux. I will discuss all the commands which we required, right? And the next one would be permissions. And the next concept would be installation of packages. And the fifth one would be user and group management. And the final a real-time lab exam, right? So these are the typical 6 things we're gonna discuss. These are the typical 6 things we're gonna discuss to get the things in place, right? So let's get the things, guys. Let's get the things. So let's go with the architecture. Let's go with the architecture of Linux. So the first component would be a user. A user would be there. And the second component would be a shell. The next component would be a kernel. The next component would be hardware. Right? So let's do it. So a user would be there. A shell would be there. Kernel would be there. And finally hardware. Would be there. So the first thing what will happen is a user would be interacting with the shell. So user nothing but ourselves. We type something like some commands, anything it might be, guys. Anything it might be. We type some kind of commands, some kind of things, any kind of activity. The first interface would be a shell would be there. A shell would be taking the input from the user. A shell would be taking the input from user, right? So the first interaction will happen at the shell, guys. First interaction will happen at the shell, right? So shell will be taking as an input, and what it will do, it will not process the output, guys. What we will do is shell is something will be sending a the same requirement which a user is getting, right? It will transfer to the kernel. Kernel is an heart of an operating system. Kernel is an heart of your operating system. So kernel, what it will do is, let's say I given some kind of requirement like create some file like touch1.txt. I have mentioned. A user has mentioned a touch is a command and followed by a file name called 1.txt. He simply mentioned this statement, right? A user would be supplying a statement and shell will be taking this particular statement and it would be interacting with the kernel. Kernel, what it will do, it would be processing the input. It will take the input and process the output accordingly. Take the input, process the output accordingly. How the kernel will process, guys? So kernel is an art of operating system. How the art functionality in our human body, how it purifies the blood. Similarly, in an operating system, kernel would be the heart. It would take the instruction from the shell and it will check the hardware. All the components are working fine or not. Once everything has been validated, it would be sending the output back, right? So it will check the hardware and finally it will process the thing, right? And you would be getting a 1.txt file would be created. A 1.txt file would be created. A 1.txt file would be created, right? So this is the typical journey of a Linux architecture. A requirement, whenever you post, it will be taken by a shell. Shell will interact with kernel. Kernel will take the necessary action and it will process the output. It will take the necessary action and it will process the output, right? So this is the typical architecture we have with the Linux, guys, right? So any questions from anyone else in terms of these aspects? Any questions you have, guys?
Sir, last one, hardware. Can you repeat?
So hardware is nothing but like your RAM, your storage, the hardware components would be there, right? Which is visible to the naked eye. The kernel, what it will do is it will interact with the hardware. So hardware should be working fine. Then only it would be processing the output. It would be processing the output, right? So that is the only thing. To functionality of any kind of an operating system. So the first phase would be your hardware should be running fine. Then only you will be able to manage the operating system, right? So this is how this hardware comes into picture, right? This is the background how it happens.
So, actually, what happens in shell?
Shell is kind of a postman, what I can refer to. It will take the input and it will send it to kernel, take the input from kernel and send it to user, right? It is a mediator between kernel and the user. Take the post letters and send it to the destination, right? Similarly, the shell role will also be the similar manner. Take the input from user, ask the kernel to process them and get back to the user again.
Does the data have any changes take place in shell?
No, shell, it will not happen any kind of data. The only thing, whatever kernel says, if kernel says A for apple means shell will also say the A for apple one.
Okay, so
There won't be any kind of change.
So kernel is like a processor. Sir.
Sorry. Guys, just 1 second, guys. Just 1 second, guys. Just 1 second. I'm getting one phone call. Just 1 second. Yeah, sorry guys, just a phone call. Yeah, someone is asking some question. Can you repeat that question once? Someone, I believe someone is asking something, right?
Kernel is like a monitor, sir.
Kernel is not kind of a monitor. It is kind of an process unit, we can say. You can refer to an heart of an human body, right? So it is just for purifying the blood, right? Similarly, it takes the instruction and it process accordingly, right? So it's kind of an heart of an operating system. That is a major component of your operating system. Every decision will be taken from kernel itself.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Hi, sir. Deepak here. What is the difference between the shell and CLI? How do they differ, or are they the same?
So shell is just an interface. So we are interacting with CLI means with the help of shell only we are doing. You can make a statement almost similar, right? To interact with the CLI, then we should have some shell in place. Both are interrelated.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is sir, if
Yeah.
any problem in hardware, the kernel will adjust this problem, sir.
No. So if there is any kind of problem, yes, the kernel, you would be getting an information that you have to fix some hardware failures. Right? Kernel is something, it will be checking the system functionality. That's it. And the remaining things, you have to fix it. As a user, you have the complete controllability to manage the things.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
So as you said that this stage of kernel, the output will be processed over there, right? And again, the output also will be processed at hardware also, sir.
No. So hardware. So let me take a simple example for you. You have a car. You have to move from one place to another place. And if you want to move from one place to another place, means car should have some engine, right? So without engine, car will not start. That engine is hardware, right?
So,
And the car, everything, it is like a kernel, shell, and user, right? User is nothing but a driver, and shell is a steering, and kernel is a unit which manages you like a petrol, we can say. And hardware is nothing but a engine. Just imagine. If you don't have the engine, then car will be idle state, right? You have to refer to this particular thing, right?
Yes.
Clear now?
Yeah, clear. So the output will be processed at the stage of kernel on.
Yes. The kernel would be the he is kind of a master, we can say. He will take the complete control ownership.
Okay, sir.
His decision is final.
Thank you.
So clear, guys? Clear in this architecture part? So this is typical the architecture, how the operating system of your Linux flows, right? So let's go and discuss all the set of commands which we use generally, right? So let's go and discuss. There are a lot of commands. Let's go one at a time. Yeah. So the first command in our list is touch. Touch is a command. If you want to create any kind of files in Linux, we use a command called touch. Touch is a command which we use to create a file, any kind of files, guys. If you want to create any kind of files, then now how we do it, guys? We do it with the help of touch command. Touch followed by the file name. File name, nothing but any name you can specify, like 1.txt, 2.txt, 3.txt. So you can create a single file, and the file which is created, it is an empty file. There won't be any kind of content in it. And there won't be any kind of content in it, right? So 1.txt, 2.txt, and 3.txt, right? So you can create a single file like touch1.txt. It will create only single file. If you specify 3 file names, 3 files would be created. 3 files would be created, right? So this is about creation of a file, right? And the next thing, I would like to create a directory. Directory, nothing but a folder in Windows, we call it as, right? So to create, we have a command called mkdir, and the folder name would be ABC, right? So ABC directory would be created. ABC directory would be created, right? And I would like to go inside that particular directory. How I do it? With the help of CD ABC. CD means change directory, change directory, CD ABC. Go to that particular directory, go to that particular directory. That is about ABC, CD ABC, right? And the next thing is, so I am inside a directory, and inside my directory I have few files like A, B, C, D, and I want to check what all files are there in my directory, right? So how do I do it, guys? With the help of ls minus l, right? So ls minus l, what it will do is it will list the files which are present in my ABC directory, which are present in my ABC directory, right? LS stands for long listing. LS minus L stands for long listing, right? And the next command here is PWD. So PWD stands for present working directory, present working directory. So present working directory, which will be used for displaying which location we are in, right? So this is about present working directory. The next thing is I want to move from one place to another place. I want to move my file from one place to another place. Then how I do it, guys? With the help of mv command, mv 1.txt to 2.txt, right? So mv is a command which will be used for facilitating two functionalities. One functionality is to rename that particular file. The second functionality is if you want to move the file from one place to another place. If you want to move the file from one place to another place, then we will use the command called mv. Right? And the next command we have is so move is been done. The next command is I want to delete the file. How I do it, guys? rm minus rf, and the file name is 1.txt. So rm space hyphen rf 1.txt. What it will do, guys? Basically, it would be deleting the file 1.txt. If I want to delete the file, then rm space hyphen rf is a command which will be used for deleting the file, right? So this is about my seventh command, right? And I want to print something. So how I do it? We have a command called echo. Echo is a command which will be used for printing the statement, right? So let me keep it. So this is the first session on Linux. So what it will do, guys? This particular statement would be printed on the command line interface, right? So this is about echo command. Right? I want to copy the content which is present in one file onto the second file. Then we have a command called cp. Cp stands for copy. And if you want to copy from one place to another place, we will be using this particular command 1.txt to 2.txt, right? So this is about cp 1.txt and 2.txt, right? So the 10th command in our thing is I am copying from 1.txt and 2.txt, and the 10th command in our list is I want to display the content which is present inside the file. Let's say in 1.txt I have a content of something like this is a test file. If I want to display that particular content, then we have a command called cat 1.txt. And one more thing, guys, there is no such thing to have extension. If you keep directly one or ABC, a name with that particular thing would be created. But if you specify, then you would be having some clarity. This is a text file. This is a Excel file. This is a Word file, right? So likewise, you would be having some kind of clarity. You would be having some kind of clarity, right? So this is about cat 1.t, right? So, and there are two things which you can do with the cat command, guys. The one thing, you can display the content which is present in the inside the file. The second use case is, if you want to enter the content inside that particular file, then we will use a command called cat redirection operator 1.txt, right? So this greater than symbol, we call it as a redirection operator. The greater than symbol, we call it as a redirection operator. How it would be useful, guys?
So from moving second directory, sorry, second txt to first txt.
Yeah, tell me. Someone is speaking?
Sir, re-entering to previous text, sir. Re-entering to previous text file, sir.
Re-entering to the previous text file. So what is your question? I didn't get you.
Sir, you were asking question, 11th one.
Yes, sir.
No, I'm not asking. I'm not asking any kind of question. Just I'm going with the flow. And any questions you have till this point from anyone else?
Sir, can you explain just point 10 and point 11 1 second, sir?
Yeah.
The difference
So basically,
between.
yeah. So basically, cat is a command which we will be using to have two things. One is to display the content which is present inside a file, right? A file is named called 1.txt. Inside that particular file, I have some content, like this is a test file. If you want to display that particular content, then I use a command called cat. Cat 1.txt means the content which is present inside my file, it would be displayed. It would be displayed, right? So this is the one use case. And the second use case is, if you want to enter the content inside my file, then I will use a redirection operator. Then how I do it, guys? I use a redirection operator. Redirection operator. The benefit of redirection operator is you are creating some content, right? So you will be getting a window, and here you can enter like this is the test file. Once you have done with the content, then you can press Control D. Then you can press Control D. What will happen is it would be saved. It would be saved, right? So it would be saved, right? So this is about 11th command. This is the test file, and
So-
this is about, yeah.
What would happen to the previous data in one.txt file?
It would be overwritten.
Okay.
Yeah, that I will mention in the next point, right? So if you use a single redirection, if you have a previous data in that particular file, the data would be overwritten with the new data, which you specify, right? If you don't want to overwrite, and if you want to update with the addition of some content, then we have to use a command called double redirection operator 1.txt. Double redirection operator 1.txt. What we'll do, guys, this is the test1 file. This is the test1 file, right? So this is about the 12th command. This is about the 12th command, right? So 12th command, what it will do, guys, if I don't want to overwrite the content, then I will be using a command called 12th command. Cat double redirection operator. What it will do, the previous content would be there, and the content which we have created right now, both the contents would be visible. If you use a single redirection, the previous content will be overwritten by the new content. This is the difference between a single and a double redirection, right? Clear, guys? Till 12th commands, any questions?
Yes, sir. I would have doubt in 7 point, because the thing is that if we generally use rm-r as well, so even file will also get deleted. So why are we using like this rf or something like this rd?
Yeah. So RM is something if you want to remove the file. -rf is something recursive forcefully. Sometimes what will happen is if you have complete ownership on that particular file, you can straight away delete it. But sometimes some backdrop, some kind of privileges is required, right? If you want to have these kind of scenarios, you have to use a flag called recursive forcefully. Delete that file forcefully. You can directly use rm command, it will be deleting, but if you use -rf, you would be having some higher efficiency, means some forceful nature would be there.
Okay, got it.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, you just mentioned that it is not required to mention any extension, say suppose 1.txt. So if
Yeah.
suppose we don't mention the extension, what kind of file it does it create? It's
General
a, you
file.
suppose,
So
yeah,
general file. So right now txt generally stands for a text format.
text file.
But if you don't specify also, what I am referring in the previous statement is a file would be created. There is no such extension. A file would be created. If you specify like touch Viraj with the name called Viraj, a file would be created. It will, you can rename it as some format, that is also fine, but the file would be created. So generally in Windows or some other operating system, if you don't specify some format, a file will not be created, right? So at least something it should be. Here in Linux, there is no such provision. Straight away file would be created.
Okay.
Sir, would you please explain about the second and third points?
Yes, sir, for me to the two only. Second one and third one.
Okay. So the second command basically used for creating a directory. mkdir nothing but if you want to create a directory, then we will use a command called mkdir, right? And the next command is if you want to go inside the directory, then we will use a command called third command, cd abc. If I want to change into that particular directory, if I want to change into that particular directory, then we will use a command called third point guys. So make directory is to create a directory. CD is to go inside the directory. CD is to go inside the directory. Two things. Two things. Right? Clear? Just a folder. And if you people are comfortable with Windows, right? I believe. In the Windows, you create some folders. You create inside a folder some files, right? So folders nothing but directory. We call it as in Linux. Folders nothing but directories. We call it in Linux, right?
Fourth point, can you explain again, sir?
So the fourth is something we call it as long listing. If you want to list the files inside a directory, then we will use a command called ls-l, right? So whatever the content is there inside the folder, it would be listed. It would be listed, right? So this is about fourth command, right? Clear, guys? So let's go with the next couple of things. Let's go with the next couple of things, right? So the next command is, if I want to get the utilization factor of my server, my Linux machine, then we have a command called top, right? So utilization factor is nothing but every server would be having some kind of challenges of how much CPU is getting consumed, what is the memory consumption, what is the storage space consumption. All the details will be captured with the command called top, with the command called top, right? So top is a command which will be used for capturing the data of your utilization factors, data of the utilization factors, right? So like top, we have one more command which is ps minus ef, right? So these are the two commands which will be used for having some utilization factors. These are the two commands which we will be using to have some utilization factors, right? So these two commands, utilization factors, nothing but how much CPU is getting consumed, what is the memory, what is the space. So these are the things can be achieved with the commands called top ps minus ef, right? So this is about 13th and 14th, right? And the 15th command in our list is I was mentioning if I want to enter some content, right? I want to enter some content in the file, right? So like cat command, we have some editors in Linux like vi, nano, and gedit. So these are the typical editors we have in Linux. These are the typical 3 editors we have in Linux. So these editors are used for entering the content into the vi, nano, gedit. Anything you can use it, guys. Anything you can use it. This will be used for having some kind of content inside a file, right? So majorly in the real time, majority of the times we use vi editor, but if you're comfortable, you can use nano and gedit. But most of the times, most of the people will be using vi editor, right? So to have any kind of content, we will be using the vi editor, right? So this is about the 15th command, right? The next command in our list is I know the command, but I don't have any kind of knowledge. I know the command, but I don't have the knowledge about that particular command, right? So in Linux, we have these kind of manual pages. It will show you what this command will do it and what is the syntax associated with that, right? So it will be displayed with the help of man command. Man, and you specify simply pwd, right? So pwd stands for present working directory. The complete Wikipedia information of that PWD would be displayed. PWD would be displayed, right? So man PWD, right? So this would be done with the help of 16th command. This would be done with the help of 16th command, right? And the so man, what it will do, guys, simply it will be getting the complete information of that particular command, what this command will do, what is the syntax, how to use it. All the things can be done with the help of 16th command. All the things can be done with the help of 16th command, right? And the final command we have is history. So what history will do is, so history is a command which will be used for capturing the information of all the commands which you have executed throughout, right? So we were working on 16, the same thing we will do in the practicals, don't worry. These 16 commands, whatever we have executed, right? The entire commands history would be displayed, right? So these are the 17 commands you will use on a day-to-day basis as a DevOps engineer. These are the commands are required. There are some more commands which is on more into the advanced level, and these are the commands which especially a Linux system administrator will do, right? So these are the majority of the commands you will use on a day-to-day basis, right? For a DevOps guy, these are the 17 commands you should have some knowledge, right? Even if you are facing any kind of DevOps interviews, they would be touching on these kind of concepts, right? So they will touch on some Linux basics. Why? Because a DevOps engineer should have a knowledge on Linux system administration knowledge, right? A little bit of knowledge is required, right? So these are the comments, guys. So any questions from anyone else?
Sir, I have a question. Sir, these are the important ones, or there are more commands?
So these are the commands only. There are some concepts which is a Linux system administrator will do. For a DevOps guy, these are sufficient for DevOps engineers.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
If you are working as a Linux system administrator, then you should know more. But for a DevOps guy, this is sufficient.
Hello.
Yeah.
I'm Sundar here. I just would like to understand like PS minus EF, that is 14th one.
Yeah. So the 14th one is basically to get some utilization factor of your Linux machine, right? So like how much CPU is getting consumed, what is the process consuming my application, each and everything. A utilization factors would be displayed with the help of 13th and 14th command. Two commands will be used. Any of the both you can use it. Any of the both you can use it.
Okay, thank you.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, the 16 one and the main command, which is you just tell that if you're not able to know that we are knowing the command, but we not know its function, that how it's work. Sir, we have to write. Suppose we write cd command and don't know what. After that, we have to write man pwd.
Yeah. Just any command you want to know, man pwd, man cd, man top, man ps minus ef, anything you type after man, a complete information of that particular command would be displayed.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
So please explain history command 17th.
So history is something you will be getting the complete information of your history. Whatever the commands you are working, right? All the things would be displayed.
Sir, you just said that mkdir is basically a directory. Sir, what is a directory, sir?
Directory is nothing but a storage location, like a folder we have in Windows, right? A place where you can store multiple files. Place where you can store multiple files. So that is the thing you will use.
Okay, sir.
Sir, at point of interview, I mean, they will be asking questions on commands answers.
Yes.
Sir, if you don't mind, can you share at least one example, sir? How would be they will asking questions?
So going forward, we will be having a lot of discussions. I don't know who is this asking question. So in the between of course, 2 times I will be taking some discussion. What all things it is expected in the interview. Everything we will discuss in the process of course, right? This is typical day one, right? So just wait for some time. You will be getting one point of time. There I will be gathering a lot of concepts and we will discuss in a single day.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Sir.
Yeah.
Can you explain 13th one, TOP?
Yeah, that's what I was saying, right? Some utilization factors. So if you want to get some utilization reports, then we will be using a command called TOP, top. Like CPU, memory, RAM, everything can be done with the help of top.
Sir, with the help of PAS-EF, we can utilize this factor.
Yeah, two things.
We use TOP, sir.
2 commands are there in the Linux. Then we should have Linus Torvalds. Why he has created 2 commands. The only difference from 13th and 14th is in 14th we get some extra process number would be getting. That process number will not be getting the top command. That is the only difference between the both. But both are used for getting the utilization reports.
So either one can use, sir?
Yeah, you can use it. But if you want to get some process ID, then you have to use the 14th command.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah. So anything else, guys, before we sign off for today? I believe we have almost only 5 minutes left for today. And we have done with the 2 things today. One is an architecture. The second one is the commands which we use in Linux on a day-to-day basis. And the leftover we will discuss in the next class, the permission concept, installation of packages, and the user and group management. Once we have done with these 5 concepts on the theory, we'll start the practice, right? So this would be the plan for next class. Right. So any questions before we sign off today?
So 16th one man PWD. If you don't mind, explain about one second. Sir.
So man, if you want to get some manual pages, if you want to get the output, if you want to get some kind of syntax, what this command will do, we will use a command called man. Man followed by the command, you have to use it. Anything you use, that particular command, if it is present in Linux, you would be getting the output, right?
Examples, sir.
Any command you can use it. pwd, cd, make directory, anything you can use it. right? Okay,
Thank you,
guys,
sir.
and if no questions, let's stop here today and go through the recorded video
Hello.
and come back to me. Yeah.
Hello.
Yes. Yeah. Tell me.
Sir wants to say that 10th one and 11th one.
10th one and 11th one. What is 10th and what is
cat cat1.txt.
Yeah, cat1.txt means so if you want to display the content present in that file, we will use, and if you want to enter the content, we will use a command 11. A redirection is nothing but if you want to supply some details.
Okay, sir.
So
Okay.
CAT stands for, sir.
Sorry,
CAT stands for.
cat stands for there is no such abbreviation. This they put some cat. You can do some kind of Google Astra cat
Command at a
abbreviation.
time, sir.
Sorry,
Command at a time.
not like that. You can get these abbreviations. There are abbreviations for each and every command. That is not required, but the usage is required for us. How that is working, that is the major thing, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, with this we'll stop for today, guys, and let's connect back in next class. I believe tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, there won't be any class, and we'll meet on the Monday, right? Okay. Thank you, and we'll see you guys. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.